What's happening, everybody? How's it going today? This is Can I Get More Podcasts in my monitor. I am Johnny Ruckus. I hope everybody's doing well on this September 20th, 2020, in the midst of all the chaos that continues to happen. And I don't have to get into that because everybody knows the fuck's going on. So, all right. I hope everybody's well. We had an awesome UFC card last night. I'm going to talk a little bit about a UFC before I get into what I set out to talk to today. But it wasn't a pay-per-view, but it sure felt like it. You had Colby Covington and Tyron Woodley do it in the main event. Let's see, Johnny Walker fought. Cowboy and Nico Price. That was chaos. Yeah, awesome night of fights. There's lots of finishes, so it was super excited. If you are a fan of UFC, you were obviously looking forward to this card. You're trying to see which Tyron Woodley would show up. If it was the one that showed up in the last few fights where he kind of seemed disinterested, or if he was going to come out and punch Colby Covington in the face, which a lot of people were rooting for. Didn't happen. I don't know how many strikes that he ended up, meaning Tyron threw, but it didn't seem like it was a lot. And Colby just overwhelmed him. Tyron was fighting off of his back foot, his back against the cage most of the fight. He just didn't seem like he wanted to be in there, and then he got hurt. Whatever happened, I something with his ribs, but then he got hurt and the fight was over. So, Cowboy and Nico Price, they went to a majority draw, which you don't see those very often at all, but with the eye poke mania going on, it's either nut shots or eye pokes, it seems like. The eye pokes is a byproduct of their gloves, I believe, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, they went to a majority draw, which is very strange, but it was a great fight. You thought it would be. It was chaos. It was. What can you say? Those guys, every time they go out and give it. They give it. They take punches. They give punches. They do the whole thing. And it was chaos. So, great fight. Unfortunately, there wasn't a winner, but maybe we'll run it back or whatever. Johnny Walker got a win, back in the win column over Ryan Spann. Looked like Ryan Spann was going to take him out, and then it looked like they were going to take each other out. So there was lots of stuff going on, ebbs and flows, all within like 2.5 minutes of a fight. So it was pretty chaotic. That's kind of what you get when you have Johnny Walker. What a great name for a Brazilian. He's Brazilian. His name is Johnny Walker. What a great name. But, what are you going to get with him? It's feast or famine. He's either going to get knocked out or he's knocking somebody out very quickly. So Ryan Spann did look good. He made a mistake and he paid for it. What are you going to do? It is what it is. It's fighting. That's what they get paid to do, is punch each other in the face. So Mackenzie Dern looked great. Got a armbar victory over Miranda Marcos. Randa Marcos, not Miranda, whatever. But yeah, she looked real good. Looked real strong in there for sure. So it was a good night of fights. There's more. I just can't think of them off the top of my head. I don't have it in front of me. So it is what it is. Anyways, let's get right into it. I'm going to talk about the Fender Duo Sonic today. And I know what you're thinking. Duo Sonic, why? Kind of, because it's kind of been the little brother to the, the Telecaster, the Strat, even the Mustang. Shot of juice here. But we're going to talk about it, and I will weasel my way into why I'm talking about it. But I figured I probably have to get to a little bit of a quick history lesson. The first run was from 1956 to 1969. 22.5-inch scale. So it's a very short scale guitar. It was a student grade guitar, but it was manufactured in the same way as like the Strat or the Tele. So the workmanship was very, very, very good for the level of guitar, for lack of better terms. It was. The Music Master, which is basically the single pickup version, it had like a neck pickup, predated the Duo Sonic by a few months. So the Music Master was released in May of 1956, and I mention that because they are basically, I don't know, brother and sister or whatever, something like that. They're connected because they pretty much follow the same lineage, just slight differences. So the Music Master was first, released in May 1956. Then the production of the Duo Sonic began in June. So very, very, very close. And then it was released very shortly afterwards. Like I said, 22.5-inch scale, student model. They were kind of doing that to dig into I believe it was the Melody Maker, the Gibson Melody Maker, or the Juniors, in that those are kind of student grade, less expensive versions of, the Les Paul, I can't remember if the SG was going on yet, but the Les Paul for sure, and then like the hollow bodies and stuff like that. So these are student grade, as I said, 21 frets. Everything had narrow fret wire back then. They didn't know what medium jumbo or jumbo frets. They didn't know any of that stuff. That wasn't in existence yet back 64 years ago. So neck profile was like the other Fenders of the era. It's like a kind of a thicker V shape. Kind of, not quite baseball bat, but, they were pretty big necks on these. Strat headstock. Bodies were made of poplar. They were actually routed for 2 pickups, regardless if it was going to be a Music Master or a Duo Sonic. So I'm sure they just threw them all in the, I don't know, I'm sure some sort of jig and knocked them out. So it was desert sand in color. Same color as a lot of the steel guitars that Fender was releasing at the time. Kind of monochrome kind of things. The bridges were top loading at 3 saddle bridge, kind of like a Telecaster. It also had, on the Music Master, actually it was on the Duo Sonic as well, a removable chrome bridge cover. I actually never really understood those. You see the basses with those all the time. I'm sure it does something, but it also, they get lost, or people just take them off. So if someone knows what that was for, I guess I just didn't really do a whole lot of research into that because it didn't really concern me all that much. But anybody want to tell me what it was for, that'd be awesome. They also had a gold anodized aluminum pickguard. The early ones were painted black, but the finish flaked off, so they didn't really prepare it all that well. Plus, it's hard to quickly paint aluminum, so they stopped doing that. Just went with a gold anodized aluminum, which I thought was very interesting. Maybe it did something to the sound, kind of like a Telecaster bridge pickup does, because the bridge and the pickup are connected into one hunk of metal. Maybe there's something that happens there. I'm not quite sure. It's hard to find. I found it difficult to find examples of tones from the early ones, because they kind of made a bunch of changes in a short period of time. They were kind of trying to work stuff out, so I totally understand it. So yeah, I'd be interested to see if the aluminum pickguard makes some sort of tonal change, which I guess I can assume it would, 1959 was the first time they started making slight changes. These weren't big changes, but you know, they did a little bit in the few years prior to this, but these are the most notable ones up to this point. Fender changed the color to like a darker tan. You know, remember it was a desert sand, which is it's a fitting name because you think about what that looks like. Yeah, you got it. So they changed the color to like a darker tan, and then this had like a pinkish hue to it, I guess. And I was actually having problems trying to find an example of this. It's very hard to tell. And then the color photos of the time aren't as great, you know, as they are today and what they will be tomorrow. But I guess Fender didn't even name the color. They're just like, yeah, just put this on there and send it out the door. So obviously they weren't too proud of it. Good on you, Fender. Also, another change was there was no more skunk stripe up the back of the neck. For those who don't know, skunk stripe is typically a different piece of wood that they put in the back, because if the neck is all one piece, meaning that the neck and then the fretboard is all cut out of the same piece of wood, they have to cut out the back to put the truss rod in, which the truss rod helps you adjust the straightness of the neck so the guitar plays as well as it should. So there was no skunk stripe, which what they started doing here, instead of having a one-piece maple neck, they would do a maple neck and then a maple fretboard. So it's two pieces of maple mated together. But so they did that, then they could take the neck, put the truss rod in, and then glue the fretboard over the top of it. So there was no reason to go through the back anymore. At this point, too, they also replaced the aluminum pickguard. They just put plastic, you know, makes sense. And the white pickup covers were changed to brown at this point. It looks kind of neat, and then it's at the same time it's brown. So it's weird, but it is different. You know, it was definitely setting them different from like the Strat or whatever at this point. 1961, another big change here. Both the Music Master and the Duo Sonic were finished in a Sunburst only. A lot of people speculate that this was a dealer request because the Gibsons of the time were all Sunburst pretty much, and it sold really well. So people think that it was a dealer request to change them so they look a little bit more similar. And then also a lot of the Strat and Tellys were also Sunburst. So this was another thing where they thought that maybe they could upsell from the Duo Sonic to and the Music Master to a Strat Telly, which costs more money. But this was a different color Sunburst. It wasn't pretty, I don't think. In my eyes, I don't really like it. It looks cheap to me. It looks like someone did it out of a spray can or something like that in their basement or something like that. So I don't know. Obviously, times were different 60 years ago. The other thing that I noticed too in the research here is that they seem to use the old tan paint as an undercoat. So maybe they painted all these and then they painted all the bodies and then decided to change the color, or they just had a bunch of paint they had to get rid of. So they decided to just do that and get rid of it. Different times, man. But yeah, there's that. So we move on to 1963. Actually, the Sunburst ends up being dropped at this point. I think a lot of people were like, yeah, that's no good. It really was no good. It was replaced by white and then a red mahogany. The white had a tortoiseshell pickguard, which looks really awesome. And then a brown pickguard was made for only a couple months, like 1 or 2 months. They're very rare. They didn't release many of them. So if one were to have a original 1963 brown pickguard Duo Sonic or Music Master, you'd have a really rare piece of history there. At this point, they also started using mahogany, which is something that Fender hasn't done since, except for maybe a custom shop. But they definitely don't have any production guitars with mahogany, really. A couple, but these are one-off. But as far as like Strat, Telly, the flagships, not a lot. Not really any. The red mahogany was prone to finish checking and cracking. It was something in their process. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. Sorry about that. But it was something in the process which made it check and kind of crackle and be funky. And I guess the red mahogany was also a reaction to Gibson with their cherry, like on the SGs and stuff like that, that real fantastic cherry finish. I guess this was kind of their answer to it. Played a lot of games back then, it seemed like. Okay, 1964. This was probably the biggest change in the history of these guitars. And it actually came as a what do you want to call it? A reaction, not necessarily a reaction. But these changes came as a debut from another model. The Mustang here debuted in 1964 in August. And I'm sure you're familiar with the Mustang. There's plenty of famous players of the Mustang. Kurt Cobain's one of them. Obviously, he played lots of different guitars, Fenders, and stuff like that. But the Mustang was pretty much a Duo Sonic with a vibrato on it, and it had kind of a strange vibrato, if I remember right. It's different. Pardon me. But this is when the Mustang debuted. And then what they did is they basically redesigned the Music Master and the Duo Sonic to resemble the looks of the Mustang. So that included a slightly different body and headstock shape. Now this era would be known as the Series 2. They began to offer 24-inch scale as well as the 22.5-inch scale. They redesigned the bridge. They made it larger, and they slightly repositioned the pickups. And I'm pretty sure that is in response to the longer scale length. They needed a little bit beefier bridge, and it really is. It's a pretty cool design on the bridge. It definitely could take a beating for sure. So larger bridge, still had the top loader design on it. And then what they also did was, instead of having a 3-way toggle switch for the Duo Sonic, they actually put slider switches to separately control each pickup. Which is, it's different. It's kind of cool. You see those on the, if you're familiar with the Jaguar or the Jazzmaster, the Jaguar and the Jazzmaster both have a bunch of different switches on them. And on those guitars, they are a bit different. They have more controls, bass controls and stuff. I actually I don't remember what they all are because there's a million of them. But they do have slider switches that control the pickups as well. So they decide to do that here. You know, I don't know exactly what it was, why, but this is what they did. So it is what it is. The Duo Sonic then went through production. It went out of production in 1969, and the Mustang had all to do with that. They were kind of overlapping. Once they brought out the Mustang, there was a lot of overlap here. The Mustang did have, single coils as well. Obviously, they produce Mustangs with humbuckers in them, but the only difference was it had a vibrato. So to have two guitars that are basically the same, one with a vibrato and one without a whammy bar, didn't really make a whole lot of sense, especially when you're trying to market them as different guitars, you know. So the Duo Sonic went out of production in 1969, and the Music Master actually lasted till 1980. So a good run. And then the Mustang kept going on after that. All right. So that kind of takes up that's a little bit of a history lesson here. We got some famous players that played the Duo Sonic, mostly the Duo Sonic live. I didn't really see too many people playing the Music Master. It's very thin in the tonality, I guess, but like here, like Jimi Hendrix, I got on the screen. If you're watching, I appreciate it. He's playing a Duo Sonic there. This looks like a Sunburst one, so we'd be 1961, 1962. I was actually reading some stuff, and they were saying that he played a 59 or a 60, but I mean, he very well could have, you can have more than one guitar. But every picture I found of him playing with the Isley Brothers back in this day, that looks like a Sunburst to me. I got another one here. That also looks like a Sunburst. That looks like the same guitar. This would have been in 1964. Okay. Then David Byrne from the Talking Heads used one at least on the first two Talking Heads records, but he's playing one live right here. This is probably a, somewhere in the 1963, 64. Well, no, that's a 1963 right there because of where the pickup switch is, as well as there's no dip switches or anything like that. So that's a 1963. Another person to play it, Rory Gallagher, great Irish guitar player. Here he's got probably in 1963 or so. He also played Strats, but he was a Fender guy. But here's him playing live on a, probably 1963 Duo Sonic right here. So another one, Liz Phair. That is at least a 64. I don't know if you can see it too well, but above the pickup switch, there's a piece of tape. So she taped that off so she wouldn't hit the dip switch, or the slider switch, I should say. But she was real famous for playing Duo Sonics. I think there's an album or two with her having a Duo Sonic on the cover, so that's pretty rad. Another one was Johnny Winter. I couldn't find any pictures of him actually playing a Duo Sonic, but it is documented that he played them. But this picture is of him playing a Mustang. So the difference is here. Well, this is a different bridge. This is actually not a vibrato, I don't think. Unless he had something different on it. But The pickguard's a little bit different. I know I'm pointing to the screen and you can't see that, but the pickguard's a little bit different. Where the controls are is a metal control cavity, like not in the shape, but like what a Telecaster would have. Then it has the 3-way toggle switch. So this is actually a Mustang here, but he did play Duo Sonics, I guess, as well. And then also another one, I thought this was a great picture. Patti Smith was famous for playing Duo Sonics. This was a black and white picture, so I'm not sure if this is the red or if it's black. It really looks black. Obviously, it's a black and white picture. But obviously, she could have had it resprayed or something custom built or whatever. Or it's what do they call it, amalgam or whatever, of different guitars all jammed together. So, but yeah, I thought this was a fantastic picture. I had to crop it down a little bit so you could see my fat head in the picture here a little bit. But I thought this is a really fantastic picture, and it shows the Duo Sonic, and she's using it live, and she's being all excellent Patti Smith about it. So, all right, and then we got before I move on, too, real quick, talking about Jimi Hendrix here. Just the other day, we went past the 50th anniversary of his passing. 50 years. First of all, it's crazy to think that, okay, like this picture that I have up on the video stream is from 1964 when he toured with the Isley Brothers. Now, 6 years later, he'd be gone. So at this point, he's 21 years old. And when he's at his peak, at his most famous, his solo career lasted 3 years. Started in his mid-20s and, ended when he was 27. So 3 years, he basically changed the music world. So he's been gone for 50 years. Imagine what could have been, I guess. But obviously these things happen for a reason, but it's hard to believe that it's 50 years. So, again, thank you, Mr. Hendrix, for the guitar playing that changed the world, the music that changed the world, and he just, he seemed like just a rad dude. So rest in power to him, for sure, all these years. I wanted to mention that when I was talking about him first, but it kind of slipped my mind for a moment. So just wanted to knock that in there. Thank you for that. All right, back onto the Duo Sonic here. We've had a couple reissues. They reissued the first time back in 1993. This was a made in Mexico version. Black, red, and white were the colors. Obviously, you want to have a black version, a black color, but like, I don't know why they didn't make them black back then. Back in the first run, I thought it would be like a shoe-in, but I know their spraying processes were different, and black very well could have been more expensive. I'm not sure, but either way, that's all right. This one was a budget model again, keeping with the tradition of the Duo Sonic. They changed the scale length just a little bit. This is 22.7-inch scale. I'm not sure what that quarter of an inch did, but it probably did something. One of the better things they did here was they didn't have any slider switches on this reissue. This was on a 3-way toggle. So that's like the originals did. That's the way to do it. It's like a Gibson style 3-way toggle switch. And then they reissued them again, 98 to 99. This was on the Affinity model in the Squire realm. These were Chinese-made Affinity models. I actually didn't know that they had the Affinity back then for some reason. I don't know why that, I was I was coming up then playing guitar, but I didn't know. I didn't know a whole lot. I mean, I had I had a couple Squires from back then. I actually own one from back then. I think I'm 99. I think I have a Squire. But for whatever reason, I didn't know the Affinity because he played the Affinities now. Like I had Affinity Telecaster for a little while, like a relatively new one, a couple years old, and that thing was fucking awesome. I'm probably going to buy another one because it was really good, really good. But here, 98, 99, the pickups were the biggest difference. There wasn't a whole lot of information from this era. I think it was kind of ill-fated, you know. I don't think the world needed it at this time. So it lasted 98, 99, and it was gone. And then in 2008 to 2011, they brought it back again in the Squire Vintage Vibe series. These are good series of instruments. Not Vintage Vibe, Classic Vibe. Why did I say Vintage Vibe? Classic Vibe series. These are good instruments these days. I'm sure they were pretty good back then, but actually, again, I didn't realize that they did Classic Vibe in 2008. But I know the Classic Vibes of the last however long it's been have been really good instruments again. You know, Squire makes really, really, really good instruments these days. So this was the Classic Vibe series. This one paid homage to the 56 model. So it was all original spec as far as, the toggle switch and how they set the pickups and all that kind of stuff. But there are some notable differences here. The body was basswood, which is basically what they make everything out of basswood. It's cheap. It's a decent tone wood. You know, it's not mahogany or alder or ash or something like that, but it's cheap. It's relatively light. It's a decent tone wood. They pretty much make all the Squires out of basswood these days. This one had 24-inch scale and then medium jumbo frets. So a more modernized fret, modernized scale a little bit. You know, it's still a short scale, but, you know, a little bit more stability, I would think, out of the 24-inch scale. Still a light feel, though, I would assume. And then now from 2016 to now, they're making them. Made in Mexico. These are alderwood. So these are Fender branded, made in Mexico, alderwood. This is a string through now, rather than the top loader. It's more of like a standard Fender hardtail. You know, like the, what did I say, the 64 had a different bridge. This is a different bridge again, more of a hardtail. They do have two versions. They're both 24-inch scale. The two single coil one is called an MN. Mandy, Nancy, whatever. And then the other model is one single coil, one humbucker, conveniently called the HS. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? They name everything. It's everything's name, damn it. All right. So that's the history of a short history of the Duo Sonic. And now if you've made it a half hour in, you're probably going, why is this fucking guy talking about the Duo Sonic? Because I bought one. Half of one? Let's see if I can get... here we go. I got a body. I got a body here. In the picture, you can see I'm just holding a body. I do have the bridge, but I don't have a pickguard. I don't have pickups. I don't have electronics. And I have a neck. I have a neck. So I have 60% of a Duo Sonic. Right here, a little bit of shinage going on here. I do have the tuners. They are garbage. They were garbage from that era, like the Squirey shitty tuners, so those are getting changed out. But I have a Duo Sonic. Ish. That's why I'm talking about this. Let me. I got some pictures here. Okay, this is of the body. You can see if you're watching it. I definitely appreciate this. If you look close, you can see where the pickguard was, and you can see where the bridge was. I do have the bridge, like I said. You can see the discoloring, and then you can also see some cracks down by the it would be the bottom left horn here, or the round bulbous part here. You can see the discoloring from the pickup or the pickguard, as well as from the bridge. This thing has been beat up. How I acquired this thing was a few weeks ago. We were bumming around Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. What up? Shout out to Fond du Lac. Shout out. But we were at this resale shop. I believe it's called the Whatnot Shop. The gentleman, actually we met him like 5 years ago. Not that we're friends or anything like that. We stopped into the shop. It was a really small shop. He buys storage units and then, resales. So, it's a thing that has been going on, but he does really well. And he's a decent dude. But anyways, we went in the shop. They actually moved down the street from where it was. So we're bumming around. He's got a bunch of video games, which is rad. I bought a couple. Maybe at some point in life I'll talk about my vintage video game addiction, as well as my Funko nerd pop addiction. But we're bumming around looking at video games, looking at stuff. We like to do that every now and again. We don't do it as much as we did, but sometimes you just got to do it. Look around for stuff. But anyways, I came across this like 12-string acoustic. I mean, this thing was beat to absolute shit. It happens. It was old. It was old. Yeah, it was vintage, probably 70s, but it was totally just beat to shit. So I was like, oh, well, that's rad. I mean, it'd be cool to have a 12-string. I've actually never owned a 12-string, wanted a 12-string. Not the point. I set it down, and I turn the corner, and I see, this thing, with the bridge on it and the neck attached. But that's it. That's all I see. And I look at it, and I was like, oh, that's neat. For sure. There's no price on it. So I was expecting one thing with the price, but we'll get there. I'm looking at it. I mean, it's beat up. It's beat up for sure. I'll run through these. I'll run through these pictures in a moment. But I'm looking at this thing. I pick it up. It's beat to hell. It's missing parts, but it seems, the neck seems to be straight. It's solid. Cracked up and beat up, but it's solid. So, I go to my wife. I said, I don't know if I feel right leaving this thing, really. I don't know. Sometimes I just get this vibe where it's like, I could be the one to save this thing or whatever. I've done that with like old wrestling videotapes and stuff like that. Like, I bought a bunch of VHS ones. I was like, someone else is going to throw these fucking things out. I'm going to keep these. So they were cheap. I bought them. Again, besides the point. So there's a young lady working here. She was very, very nice. That she didn't know the price of this thing. So she was actually helping another customer. She had to make a phone call. And she helped the other customer. And I was like, well, while you have your person on your phone here, how much for this? So she gave the price to me, and I right away sold, done. It was a very good price. I don't want to put it out here, but I believe I got a very, very good deal. and I was super comfortable with paying, and I was actually going to be more comfortable paying more. So definitely appreciate that. So I don't know anything about the Duo Sonic. I know this thing, when it's put together, it's very small, which is going to look really weird because I'm a big dude. But I knew, for whatever reason, I knew I had to grab it, and I didn't know anything about the guitar. I knew nothing about the guitar. Grabbed it, bought a couple other things, bought that, and I started doing research a little bit on the phone, like as soon as we got in the car. So it's kind of a niche-y kind of thing. They do a thing, I guess, which is really rad. So I'm going to rebuild this thing. I'm going to go, let's see where we got. We got this picture. I've seen this picture a few times. This is an overall body shot. This is of the neck pocket right here. This says September 15th. That is a 1993. So it was made at the end of 1993. I looked this up by serial number. It said 93, 94. So I guess it's kind of unclear exactly. And plus, I guess they probably didn't release it like like a new car. It's a 94 model, or like what they do now. But so this was made September 93. So it's actually quite strange that let me see if I can read it. That's September 15th, 1993. So it's actually quite strange that, 27 years ago, almost to the day that I'm doing this podcast, that this thing was made. So really neat. I thought that was really cool. Some cracks. If you're watching, I appreciate it. This thing has been dropped and beaten to shit. I've said that before. There's lots of dings like this. This is on one of the, so it's been dropped. This is on one of the, on the bottom horn. It's been dropped, but the neck was pretty good. It was dirty as hell. So, and there is a lot of fret wear. You can see it if you look to the left on the picture. You can kind of see some of these ridges here. There is some fret wear. They are small frets. I think there's a lot of life left in them. Some of them are better than others. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to see when it gets put together. But we'll definitely do like a fret. I did clean them, but I didn't dress them at all, because I don't know how it's going to play yet. I don't have all of the guitar, but there's a decent amount of fret wear up a lot of the neck, but it was super duper dirty. Cleaned it off, and it's got really pretty decent figuring for a maple here. Let's see what the next picture is. This is where the bridge was. Right in the middle, you see some of these lines. This is actually where the ground wire was underneath the bridge. So those aren't weird cracks or anything. That's where the wire for the ground wire was. So the ground wire was still attached as well as the bridge. But you can see really in this picture the color difference between what the natural color was under the bridge to the more worn white, which white ones always did this. With not smoking in bars and stuff anymore, I wonder how the white is going to look. Because that's years and years of, you see all sorts of white stuff that is just yellowed at this point, Here's a headstock. See, made in Mexico. It's got a 93. The MN is Mexico. The 3 is 93. Actually, the N3, I think, is 93, if I remember right. Made in Mexico anyways, it says. The Duo Sonic's got its own logo. See, it's got one string tree. And then, let's see if I don't remember the next one I have here. Okay. And then this is the neck heel. I'm sure this is whoever made this. There's some markings and stuff like that. That's all I got on it. And then this is the back of the headstock. You can tell the shape. These were those crappy trapezoidal tuners that they put on Squires, and I don't actually have any idea why they put that on this. It couldn't have been that much different to put an upgraded tuner on here. These are garbage. So I have them. I have like 3 sets of them because I've taken them off everything because they're just trash. They're loose. They suck. They feel crappy. They're bad. So I'll end up putting either an upgraded Fender or a locker, not sure. They are a strange size, so I'm going to have to drill them out, unfortunately. But that's okay. It's an upgrade that needs to happen. You know, those are crappy. And then it has the truss rod adjuster at the heel of the neck, which I also thought was strange, but cool, because this is how they used to do it back in the day. This one actually feels a little bit weird. I'm going to have to get one of a friend of mine who's going to help me with the electronics probably. Shout out to Travis. Shout out to Traverse Music, but he builds guitars, sets them up. He's got his own music store. Town, can't remember off the top of my head. I don't want to misquote it, but look up Traverse Guitars. Shout out to Travis. I'm going to have him check this out because it does move, but it feels loose. Like it backs out, and I'm not sure what that is. But the neck seems straight, so I might have lucked out. That's the only thing that kind of feels funky on this thing. But other than that, we should be good. So that's why I'm talking about the Duo Sonic today. I fucking bought one. Now, I was looking through. I need to find a pickguard. There's like one place on the internet that makes them, and they make every single color, whatever that you might want. And I was originally just going to go with a 3-ply black, white, black. You know, I like black. The tuxedo look is cool, but then I'm like, I was looking through and I saw those 64s with the tortoiseshell pickguard, and it is considerably more expensive. It's really, in the grand scheme of things, it's not really that expensive. But I think I'm going to buy one of those. It looks so cool, and I think I'm going to do the tortoiseshell, and then I'm going to have Travis maybe make me some pickups, but I'm definitely going to have him wire it up because my soldering skills are dog shit. And I want it to work. And I want it to be nice. And then he offered to wire me up some pickups, hand wire them for me. I don't know what it's going to cost me. Please be nice. Please be nice, Travis. I've never played a Duo Sonic. I've never played one. I don't know if I've actually ever seen, maybe I've probably seen one. I've come across it in live or whatever. In the wild, if you will. I've seen them online. I've checked, I did a bunch of research. But I've never seen one. I've never played one. I know it's going to be weird because I'm a big dude and it's a small guitar. It's going to look funny. My hands are giant. Here, where am I? There am I. There am I. I got big, giant hands. I'm a fat dude. So it's going to be funny to probably see me playing this little guitar. It's going to be like me playing a toy guitar. But I know there's a serious instrument. It's a solid instrument. And it does a thing. And we always want guitars to do different things. It's the thing. Strat, it does the thing. Telly, it does the thing. Les Paul, it does the thing. PRS has its own thing. They have their thing. And I know the Duo Sonic also has that thing. So I want to figure out what that thing is. So that's been the Duo Sonic today. I appreciate everybody listening, watching, streaming on Twitch, whatever you're doing. I definitely appreciate it. I know I have some new listeners that came in this week. I definitely appreciate you, and I hope you continue to check out the show. If you want to go and follow the show online, if you go to Facebook or Instagram, it's at Podcast in My Monitor. Or if you want to follow me, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, it's at The Johnny Ruckus. YouTube, you'll have to type in, can I get more podcasts on my monitor? You might be able to type in Johnny Ruckus, but you'll find it. It just, I don't have enough, you have to have a certain threshold to be able to change your URL, and I do not have that. I'm young in my YouTube life, but I definitely appreciate you stopping by there. Make sure to subscribe and, hit the bell. I'm sure you hear everybody say that, so apparently I have to say that too. If you're live on Twitch, thank you very much. Otherwise, you can look up the show, twitch.tv/TheJohnnyRuckus. I go live on Sundays typically. I actually have some guests lined up in the next number of weeks here, but I'm going to be recording those on separate days. I'm not sure if I'm going to go live with those, but I release the podcast as well as the video version of the podcast on Sundays. If you're new to it, it does come out Sundays, typically midday. The video version takes a little bit longer because I'm downloading it or uploading it, or if I have to do any sort of edits or blah, 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 blah. But you got it. So I definitely appreciate everybody tuning in, however you do it. Let's see. There's a couple of new ways to get the podcast. We've been on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts. Sorry. I suppose it was Apple Music at some point. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, but now we're on TuneIn. The new Amazon podcast just came out. I'm on that. TuneIn, Stitcher FM. I'm also on that too. So a couple of new avenues to get your podcasts in your monitor. You can even Alexa it, I guess. I don't know. I don't have Alexa. I actually have the Google thing, which is weird. I've let the devil into the house, but hey, I'm fat. Obviously, I've let lots of devil into the house here. That's what I refer to when we go to the grocery store or something, and we're going down the aisle, where all the goodies are, the cookies and the, all the stuff. I said, we can't let the devil in the house because I will partake in that devil. So try not to partake in the devil. How about that? Again, I appreciate everybody stopping in and all that kind of good stuff. This has been Can I Get More Podcasts on My Monitor? I am Johnny Ruckus. And just remember to try to be a little bit better today than you were yesterday. I appreciate it. Bye now.